So I tried to get my girls to do a reaction video, but it just didn't work. No, 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 no. So now I'm afraid you're stuck with me. We're going to talk about the Tzeentch reveal we just got. And he looks pretty freaking cool. We have flying chaos warriors on saucers, angry squigs with knives, manta rays. I'm pretty excited. Now let's break down some of the stuff in the blog post. So here we have some mechanics from Tzeentch, and what's really interesting is it's showing us a little bit about what the Chaos Gods mechanics in general are going to look like. Here this specifically mentions that the mechanics are for Tzeentch, not for Kairos. So Kairos might have some significant changes to the campaign, and a Tzeentch DLC will probably have some pretty different ones from him, which makes sense, being the faction of change and everything. A key resource in the Tzeentch campaign is going to be these Grimoires. They look a lot like Oath Gold or Warp Fuel, stuff like that, so that you can purchase technologies and other things that are part of the campaign. It seems like you can get quite a lot of them. One of the things that you can purchase is the changing of the ways. You can spend your Grimoires here, and there are some different actions. They really remind me of what we have with Tzeentch. Transfer a settlement ownership to yourself or someone else. Open gates before a battle. Force a rebellion. So Tzeentch and Tzeentch are going to have very similar mechanics. So we'll see if there's a cooldown or how long the cooldowns are on this, because some of these look insanely powerful. Others are probably not going to be that efficient. Something like Force War is going to be really hard to have the AI actually do what you want. Even if you give them coordination targets, the AI can be very slow to do those things. So I foresee things like open gates, transfer settlement, and track army to be the most efficient. I'm guessing that we're not going to be able to own all that much within most of the other territories, kind of like Norska. So this transfer settlement could happen so that you kind of decrease relations with other factions, forcing them to trespass on each other. Maybe this is a way to help get some Tzeentchian corruption into a new faction if that's something you need. We've also got a really brief glimpse on the Winds of Magic manipulation. There's going to be a lot of changes to how the Winds of Magic works, and Tzeentch is going to be able to either spend some Winds of Magic to get other buffs or get some extra Winds of Magic in certain ways. This will really depend on how the Winds of Magic look. We got a little bit of a preview way back when we had the Khorne versus Kislev battle. But again, right at the bottom here, they'll detail it soon. So we just know that Tzeentch is going to have a lot of tools to purchase things that'll work out better for him. So totally to his name, we're going to be able to play this numerous different ways. We did get a glimpse in the last blog post. The corruption is going to come from each chaos god, and the corruption is actually going to matter. Here we have unholy manifestations. There are going to be free abilities to each demon faction, and it's unlocked as the chaos corruption increases in the world, and each chaos faction is going to have its own. For Tzeentch, we have Scriveners of Insanity, Mutagenic Energies, Magic Flare, and Night of Madness. Here, it's talking about different amounts of global corruption in order to unlock the higher tiers. I'm curious how this is going to work on the higher difficulties, because as Warhammer 2 is right now, it's pretty hard to enforce your corruption elsewhere. So hopefully they'll outline some changes that'll make this easier. But right now, these are some pretty cool buffs. Getting some extra Grimoires? I don't know about causing a target army to suffer attrition. Again, on the higher difficulties, that's relatively meaningless, but if it's free, it might be nice to just reduce their health as they're coming up to a city that you have to defend. Magic Flare looks really cool, increasing range or barrier hit points. As indicated, barrier is a special shield. And we got a little bit of a preview of it, I think, when we saw Tzeentch attack the Cathay settlement in the siege rework. There was a little purple bar above them, and we didn't really know what that was. But I think that's what it is. It's going to be able to absorb some of the damage And if you can increase that hit point, that's just free hit points. And then at the top, we have Knight of Madness. You can target an army to generate Tzeentch corruption and increase the army's Winds of Magic power reserve. But the army can't move during these turns. It is to a friendly army, so it might be possible to use this to maybe get confederations by forcing an army to be still while it gets some bonuses, and then it'll probably just die, and then you'll get to confederate the other Tzeentch faction one day? I don't know. We'll see. Of these, what really stands out is the Magic Flare. More hit points to your barrier seems really strong. So you're going to want to try to rush 3,000 global Tzeentch corruption somehow. And I think we're going to see that in the form of these cults. The more corruption you have, you can eventually construct unique buildings for your god. I imagine this works a little bit like the Undercities or the Pirate Coves, where it will generate some of your corruption to further the spread of it. Even though you can only build this in a high corruption area, being able to build this will probably spread that corruption. So if you can get a high corruption area really quickly, this will probably be a good tool for continuing your corruption spread. We'll have to see how these play out in game, but we have 4 nice options. So this looks a little bit more like the Pirate Coves than the Undercities. You can generate Grimoires. You can generate Grimgors. Whoops, please don't generate Grimgors. You can generate Grimoires at the cost of Winds of Magic. You can also get some income, again, at the cost of Winds of Magic. Or you can destroy the cult and increase Winds of Magic. That seems like it's probably not a great idea because you do want corruption around, but we'll see how these play out. Winds might be more helpful maybe if you're in an area where you can occupy, so that's an option. We also have this really interesting teleportation stance. Tzeentch's armies, once a certain technology is unlocked, will be able to ambush attack people over mountain ranges. This is underway with an ambush attack. This is absolutely terrifying. So this teleportation stance does take up some Winds of Magic, and like the underway, you can only move to one spot. But once you unlock this, Tzeentch is going to be very, very difficult to deal with. I'm wondering if you'll still be able to cross impassable terrain if there's no army to attack there, because that would be really nice. It's curious that there's a patrolled area here. This sounds to me like a different type of region almost, so that you can maybe defend your minor cities better, almost like a built-in army before they reach the city. If that's true, that's awesome. I'd really like to see more about these patrolled areas. Next, we have the tech tree, which looks immense. It goes out in both directions. It can cost quite a few grimoires if you need them, but this does mention that you can get tons of boosts to research rate, so it might not end up being that bad. Because everything is unlocked with the key research at the center, you're probably going to want to pick late game technologies and just go hard for those and ignore a lot of other ones. Even if you get a lot of research boosts, it can take a really long time to make your way through what appears to be a giant tech tree here. So me, right here, I'm looking at Cult Whisperer. I would love to get those going early. So this is what we've learned about Tzeentch. I think there are a lot of really cool mechanics here. But again, they've left a lot of stuff for us to just try to figure out as soon as we get more information. We still need more about corruption. We still need more about the Winds of Magic changes. These are going to be so key for the Chaos campaigns in general, but for Tzeentch in particular, who can actually spend Winds of Magic as a resource. So far, we've seen Tzeentch and Grand Cathay campaign mechanics. Which of them are you more excited about? Based on what we've seen here, how do you think Khorne, the other Chaos faction we've seen, is going to play into some of the mechanics that will be shared across the Chaos Gods? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for stopping by!